Hello everyone. So with the first session on poetics, we know now the book is divided into 5 different sections and 26 different parts that come under different sections. That is 26 not equal division, but part 1 contains some is comprised out of some 5 sections. Then too many sessions we can see, up to 22 we can see into part section 2. Section 3 comprises of part 23 and 24. Section 4 comprises of 25, and the last final section, fifth one, contains part 26. Now I would like to read out the name, the title of each section, as well as the parts, different parts. There's 26 parts. The first section is titled Epic Poetry and Tragedy and Comedy, considering in general as forms of imitative art. That is the name of the first section. So it is clear that I already told you Aristotle to talk about his preference, that is obviously tragedy, but he goes along with the discussion of many other famous writings, the writing types existing during that time. So the second section is titled Tragedy Defined, the Principles of its Construction. So most often in our prescribed syllabi at UG or PG levels, we have this section as a prescribed part, because tragedy and the major points Aristotle talks about, usually we have to study or as prescribed lessons. And section 3 I already told in the first video that it is not named. It is not titled as such, but that is as a separate section, the third section, which comprises of part 23 and part 24. And the fourth section is titled Critical Problems, and the final section, that is the fifth one, is titled Comparative Value of Tragic and Epic Poetry. So when we read out the names of these sections, so we have a brief idea about the topics that are going to be incorporated in the discussion of Aristotle or the Poetics as a text. And now when we go to the reading out or understanding of each part, just with the title itself we will get a lot of ideas, or a very clear idea, very clear picture about what it is going to be, what the discussion under that title going to be. Even the titles, some of the titles are really lengthy, and we get a very clear cut picture of what the topic or the discussion is going to be on. So I would like to read out from section 1. The first 5 parts are under section 1. Part 1 is titled Imitation, Common to Various Arts, the arts distinguished according to the medium, objects and manner of imitation, rhythm, harmony and language. And again I will be doing a very clear cut explanation or very detailed analysis of each section. I am not going to do with that in this part. This is about this section. I would specifically mean about reading out, or to have a brief sketch of what the text as a whole is. So about the organic whole of the text, as Aristotle mentions or insists upon at one part of his discussion. So part 1, the title you have understood. Part 2 is the objects of imitation. Character is represented as good, bad or in a middle state. Part 3 is titled the manner of imitation, drama or narrative, the origins of drama. Part 4 is titled the natural origin of poetry in the instinct of imitation and the instinct for harmony and rhythm, serious and comic poetry, and the evolution of tragedy. The fifth part, or the final part of section 1, is titled Comedy, the Epic and the Tragedy Compared. With that, section 1 comes to an end, and then we move on to section 2, which is from part 6 to part 22. It's a very lengthy section, and again it has the majority of the parts or subdivisions we can see under this section itself. Part 6, title The Definition and Constituent Elements of Tragedy. Actually, this section I would like to mention specifically, this is the essence of poetics, because as Aristotle wants to discuss much at a greater length about tragedy itself, we can see how much he gives, how much attention he pays with the length of the section itself that is devoted for the discussion of tragedy and its characteristic features. So, part 6 is titled The Definition and Constituent Elements of Tragedy. Part 7 is titled The Proper Length of a Tragic Play. Part 8 is called Unity of Plot. Part 9 talks about the universal in plot, poetry and history. And this part we can see one more major discussion, major aspect that Aristotle attaches with the tragedy, that is pity and fear. All of us are aware how much importance he gives to that part, or the discussion on pity and fear. And part 10 is about simple and complex parts. So with very small sections, all parts these are, not section, actually part. I would like to talk about part, subdivision. So section is exclusively for 5 different divisions, and under that I am discussing this. Hope its idea is clear. And part 10 it's told simple and complex plot. Part 11, peripety, recognition, discovery, scenes of suffering. Part 12 is about the quantitative parts of tragedy, quantitative. And part 13, tragedy shows the overthrow of that good man, the tragic hero, his tragic error, a less tragic plot. These are the main. The section comprises all these. The part talks about all these. Part 13 talks about all these, and again the tragic error is one of the important concepts given by Aristotle, and that comes under part 13. Part 14 is about pity and fear should come from the plot, not from the scenery and tragic situations. That is again about pity and fear and some other discussion connected with that. And part 15 is about character should be good, appropriate, like its prototype, consistent, its relation to plot. So again about character and all, that is under that part that comes all these discussions. And part 16 is completely for the kinds of recognition, that is recognition and peripetia and anagnorisis. Those are already given, the definitions are already given, but how many? The 6 kinds of recognition is specifically or separately mentioned under part 16. I would like to list out, because it comes as the part of title itself, kinds of recognition. First one by tokens, second one through arrangement by the poet, through memory, reasonings, through false reasoning, and the sixth one incident is, sorry, I have forgotten to list out in that way itself. First one by token, second one through arrangement by the poet, third one through memory, fourth one reasonings, fifth one through false reasoning, and the last sixth one incidentally by means of a well constructed plot. So this is all about part 16. Part 17, the title goes like practical, that is practical advice to the author, the outline we get there. And part 18, 2 parts of the tragedy, complication and unraveling, the 4 species of tragedy. We can see here the 4 species. First one the involved, second one the pathetic, third one that of the character, and the fourth one is the simple effective plots. The chorus on that is the term is mentioned there to be chorus is specially mentioned in that part. And part 19 is titled Thought, its relation to plot diction. Part 20 is termed grammar. Part 21 is called the poetic use of words, metaphors. Then last part under section 2 is part 22, that is called good and bad style ornament. So these last three, the 20, 21 and 22, normally we do not mention much about grammar or anything of that kind, but still we'll have a discussion on that as well as part of discussing Aristotle. And section 3 comprises of part 23 and 24. Part 23 is titled Epic Poetry Like Tragedy in Structure. Part 24 is called The Epic Poetry Has the Same Species as Tragedy, Differs from its Length and Meter, the Marvelous. So epic is actually, this section talks much about epic. And section 4 comprises on only one subdivision or part, that is 25th one, which is titled The Critical Objections and How to Deal with Them, Essential and Non-Essential Objections. The last section, fifth one, comprises again only of one part or subdivision, that is called, the part 26 is called Epic and Tragedy Compared in Excellence. And last one, comedy. Comedy is not even having a very good mention there, but at times it is also mentioned. So this is all about the comprehensive picture of Aristotle's Poetics. Again, 5 sections and 26 subdivisions, each of which is having a separate title. Separate title. Under separate title we mention, he discusses, and we have a very comprehensive picture of Aristotle's Poetics with the understanding of this division, I hope. So that's all. Thank you.